What's up? And everyone that's present. It's page Nun Hey in Parshas Koirach, Kote Torah. For Avad HaLevi Hu. The pasuk says that the Levi will serve in the Beis Hamikdash, and the Nasu Aveinam, they're going to carry the sin, which means if somebody else that's not a Levi serves instead of them, they bear responsibility. It's their job to make sure that no one else does the work that they're supposed to be doing. So you're responsible to make sure no one else steps in your place. Avad HaLevi Hu, and the Levi will work him. Now, the word hu is a little bit extra. Just say Avad HaLevi. You don't have to say he. Pirush, K'meshikasav b'Zohar, the Zohar explains, Shekol Avedas HaLeviim, the entire Aveda, the service, the work, the task, the goal of the Leviim, Hainu lahamshech m'chinas hu. It's not an extra word, the word hu, but you're implying, says the Zohar, that the job of the Leviim is to bring forth a level, a spiritual level known as hu. Very often Chassidus comes along and answers a question that we have. Without the mystical meaning, you won't understand how it works. Hu sounds like it's an extra word. There are no extra words in Torah. And it's indeed not extra, because there's something called hu, or something implied by the level of hu, and it gets brought down. The Levi's task is to bring forth that hu level. What is hu? Shehu bina. It's bina, alma de iskasya, alma de isgalia. There are three intellectual levels. There's chachma, bina, and das. Acronym is Chabad. In the spheres, you have 7 midas and 3 intellectual ones. These are the 3 intellectual ones. Bina is the start when things start to develop a little bit more tangibly. At least within yourself, it's tangible. The way it's explained many times is chachma is the spark or a lightning, a flash. You have this idea, but even for yourself, you can't really explain it to yourself also. It's just like it's there, but in a very, very condensed, in a lightning form. You kind of got it, but you like sometimes you talk to somebody, they ask you a question, and you say, you think, yeah, I got it, 1 second. If you got it, why are you saying 1 second? Then you start to formulate. That formulating, that's bina. It's not there yet. And then when you can finally explain it, that's das. So bina is alma de iskasya. It's the concealed world, because you can't yet explain it to others. It's barely understood in yourself. Al alma de isgalia, onto the revealed world. The goal is to take that level of intellect or divine revelation, which that represents, and bring it to the next level. That's the Levi's job. Bring the hu, which is bina, bring it down. To understand this, you need to recognize the difference, understand the difference between meichin of Abba, which means the masculine intellect or the fatherly intellect, versus the meichin de ema, the maternal intellect. Intellect is a very general term, but meichin, let's call it brain, intellect. The level of meich literally means brain. Meichin is a little bit more general than just brain. But there's the father one and there's the mother one.
I live in the south side. I used to eat tacos de sesos.
How that's Abba Nima?
Brain tacos.
Really, it helps?
Really helps.
Omega-3? What is it? 0 omega-3 in there.
Exactly.
Pirush Meichin de Abba b'chenas hasagas habittel. Meichin of Abba is grasping the bittel. B'chenas chachma. Sheb'chenas koyach ma. The kid came home from school and he told his mother that he's got a part in the play. She said, what's your part? I'm the husband. She said, go back and tell your teacher you want a talking part. So
it's a Jewish wife.
It's only Jewish jokes.
It's found in Tanya also. I'm Josh Gordon.
Is it? Which day?
It's actually know the answer.
Okay, so Meichin de Abba represents the fatherly Meichin, represents a level of grasping chachma, where you perceive an idea in a way of bittul. There's 2 ways that you could understand something. One is you're completely involved, immersed in it, and you're extremely excited about it. There's a passion involved. Like, wow, this is amazing, and you completely. Another one is that you're consumed by it. And it's a level of bittul. Normally, the more intellectual a concept is, the deeper it is, the more you're in awe from it. Like you're just amazed by it. You're taken by it. As opposed to, this is an exciting concept, and you're jumping up and down because it's a less, you're less felt because it's way beyond you, even though you understand it. So the masculine level, it's grasping the bittul, the nullification, or the submission that exists, which is koyach ma, v'nachnu ma. Like Moshe Rabbeinu says, who are we? The term ma or ma in Torah means bittul. Chachma is made up of two words, koyach ma, chach koyach ma, which is the idea of bittul. So wisdom represents nullification. I was going to say humility, but it's not really humility, it's more of submission. So when you understand something very, very well, you recognize, number one, there's more to understand, but that you're small and you're getting that in a healthy way. Not that I'm so great, I understand it. But if you're looking to know more, there's a greater level and so on. It's the level of coldness, coolness, calm, collected, which is yira ilah, yira beishas, which is a supernal awe of Hashem, and it's an awe of shame or it's the bashfulness. Is that the right word here?
Embarrassment,
but in a positive way. You have different types of awe for Hashem.
Humility.
It's humility, but I'm looking for the literal definition of beishas. Humility is the same category, but there's two types of awe for Hashem, or many types. You could be afraid of punishment, where you're scared. It's a very low level. You could be afraid in the level of beishas, where I'm ashamed to do it. It's like in front of the king, I can't go against him. It's uncomfortable. Then you have an awe, where you're like respect, and you're amazed by it. You don't even want. It's not about shame. It's just like it's a respect level.
It's called like a majestic humility, basically. That's the phrase I've seen the Soloveitchik use.
Very good. Yeah, that fits well. Yeah. Majestic humility. Okay. Where's the awe, though?
Because the humility that comes from the basking in the majesty of the king.
Okay, but it's more than humility. It's an awe. It also has humility with it.
Yirah, as they say. But I don't know.
Okay, so the meichen of Abba, the fatherly meichen, is a humility that's associated with chachma, which is a bittul, because nachnu ma, or koyach ma, what are we? It leads not to, I'm so great, I understand it, and even an excitement, but it leads to a kriros, which is a coolness. Not because like a cool in a sense of standoff, but cool in the sense of, as opposed to excitement. Water versus fire. There's another type of understanding where you're passionate and extremely inflamed by it. Like it says, that chachma comes from nothing. When a person, tachlis habittul, the ultimate bittul. When you want to understand something, there's very often you're trying to decipher an idea or to grasp an idea, and there's a frustration involved, right? You have this thought, you have a question, you don't understand it, there's a frustration, and you're trying to get it. That frustration level is bittul. I'm like annoyed almost. That bittul leads to the chachma that follows it. It's not just by intellectual pursuits. They say this regarding all talent. If someone is a composer, if someone is a writer, a artist, whatever it is, there's a certain stage where they get very frustrated. It's like a breakdown of the idea. It's not going to work. Forget it. All this work is like if you ever wrote a report or something, right? You're thinking, it's not right. At some point, you just like, you want to start again. Whether you do or don't start again, it's a turning point when you come up again from scratch. It's that bittul that leads to the chachma. Chachma comes from ayin. Another example of chassidus that's brought for this is a seed. In order for it to blossom, to sprout, it has to decay. The decay is the bittul. We had it in last Maimer. The merirus, the bitterness, is what allows things to burn.
But can you explain the step between coolness and humility? How does humility lead to coolness?
Because by explaining the opposite, we can understand it. If you're not humble, then your feeling of how excited you are is very felt and expressed. It's like, sometimes you go to the airport, you'll see it. Some people are like, they're very uninhibited. and they see their friend, they jump, they scream, and other people are like, they're a little bit more aware of their surroundings, and they're just hi, nice to see you. They're very excited, but they're not jumping up and down like this. So there's a yira, which is a bittul, which is a result of the masculine level of chachma. It's not so emotional. I get it. I'm fully aware, but I'm humble or in awe. But then you have a b'chinas meichin de'ema, the level of the motherly. It's more than just feminine. It's the motherly function of that level of meichin, which that's referred to as bina. So the fatherly one is chachma. It's just a seed. It's just a drop. It's a flash. It's an idea. It leads to a humility where there's a lot more that I have to understand. I have to develop this. I have to get it. I'm not all excited and passionate, even though I have this like in a flash. I do have it. And this bina is called nikra lahanchil oyhavei yesh, to bequeath to my beloveds, the ones that I love, yesh something. It's a pasuk. Now, yesh also means it's the gematria of 310. So 310 worlds. That's the idea that a shine comes from the greatness of Hashem. That's the bequeathing, like you're giving something over from the greatness of Hashem. The klal havana b'asaga mamish, to a level of literally grasping and understanding. So let's forget the fatherly and the motherly for a second. Chachma versus bina. Chachma is a tiny condensed form where even in your own mind you don't really have it. As a result, it's very humbling because there's an idea here, but I still have to understand it within myself, and then hopefully I can explain it. That's chachma. It's a seed. It's cool. Bina is a level where it's already starting to be developed. I could formulate it. I may not be able to say it, but in my mind, I do understand it. I'm about to be able to explain it. That's a much more excited, passionate. It's the ability to be able to pass this on to someone else. In Kabbalistic terms, it's Abba versus Ema, father versus mother. The function of father versus mother as far as children go is also that the contribution of the father is a point, a seed, a drop, and the mother is more of development, right? Where it's developed into a child. By idea Sagazu, through this grasping of the Bina level, where it starts to get developed, Noilad v'nimshach mizeh midas ava aza, comes forth, gives birth from this and flows from this, an intense or a strong emotion of love, bigvurais, with intensity, rishvei eish, flames of fire, elav yizbarich, to him, Hashem, blessed be he. Okay, so the way that it works is a person grasps the level of chachma, which puts him in a state of bittul, because he realizes how much he does not understand. That's really what chachma is. Then you reach the ema level, which has to happen as well, the motherly one, which is bina, and from there you could now have a strong emotion, which is a love for Hashem. Right? It's not just seichel amidas. Within seichel, there's a process. Chachma, bina, das, and so on. Okay, so the word hu is the bina level. The avad halevi hu is the Levi's function, is to bring forth the bina down into a level that it's revealed. Okay, so let's just review this again. There's 3 stages. Chachma is a flash. You get this idea. It's a seed. It's a drop. There's humility involved. Bina starts to develop and process. Das is where it's connecting already to the next level. The Levi's job is to take the middle stage, which is the Bina level, and reveal it.
Is the shoresh is the root of the chachma from us or from Hashem?
For sure from Hashem. It's me'ayin timatze. But it starts with, in other words, you get it. You don't go to Bina without chachma. If that's something to develop.
So it sounds like it's also neatly fits into it with previous memory how our own is this result.
It's just he's a kohen.
That's what I'm saying, isn't it?
Verse Levi, yeah, very good. Yeah. Even though we skipped the parsha. Still flows. Okay. When one davens, you have to have both levels. The meichen of chachma and of bina. In order for davening to be effective or proper, you want to have both stages: the humility stage, which is the yiras beishas, and the excited passion, the ema. Pirush shebechinas meichin de ema hu bechinas ratzui likol l'mayla. The level of meichin of ema, which is the motherly bina level, is the running or the yearning to be included above, the ava aza, through an intense love. Kishal heves hanilda meis beinas v'lasa yizbarich. Shebechinas meichin de ema. It's a strong, intense love, which is desire, just like a fire. Which, if you look at a fire, it's trying to be included in something else, right? It wants to go up, wants to disappear. Similarly, that's the intense passion that exists with davening on one level, that a person wants to be included in Hashem. Hashem is running, to godliness. How do you get that? That's nolda. That's an offshoot, a result of the contemplation, the meditation, the reflection on the greatness of Hashem. Which that is the mechan of ema. Ki'im lebina tikare. It's only going to be called bina. This level where a person has an excitement, he wants to, there's a passion, that is bina. Chachma is not passionate. It's water, it's cool, it's collected, it's calm. Okay? Sometimes you notice a very, very smart person, speak to all the academics, right? In a good way, I don't mean bad, in a good way. You don't see the emotional side necessarily by the great scholar or professor. I'm sure they have it, but you don't necessarily see it. Because it's intellect. No? Disagree? Okay. Bina is where you have that excitement, that feeling. That from this excitement, from this Bina level, you have the above mentioned Ratzi where you're running. The Abba level of Meichen, which till now we said it comes first, which it does, but that's the level of returning, where it's, hold on, you're not expiring, you're not leaving, you can't be included right now in Hashem because the Neshama has to be here. That's the fatherly function of the Meichen of Abba. So we just took a full loop. It starts off with Chachma, which is the starting point, which is just a point to flash an idea. It's a bittul and a humility. That's the decaying with the frustration that happens. And from there comes the level of Bina where you start to understand it and process it. Over there is the excitement in the second part, the Bina, the motherly part that's emotional and all nuts in a good way. By davening, it's the other way around. The Bina is the emotion that happens and the yearning to connect with Hashem in a fiery love, like a flame that's flickering. And the Meichen of Abba says, Shuv, return. We're not going. We have to bring this into a practical application. It can't just be floated. In most cases, this is the difference between male and female. I say most cases because we're all different channels. No, but the truth is that it is most cases, and there are exceptions to the rule. But generally speaking, there's a masculine personality and a feminine personality. In the shamas, you have male neshamas and female neshamas, which don't necessarily play out in the bodies. You have a man that has a female neshama and vice versa. Like the saying is that if your heart is running, return to Echad, which means essentially settle down to Echad.
Is that the shav? Return to Echad?
Yeah. But return to Echad in a way, not that you're expiring to Echad, but he's going to say it's Yira Ilah. It's a greater level of Yira. Another way to express this is Ava is the excitement and the passion and the flame. Yira is a little bit of, I know my place. Whoa. It's not appropriate to jump into it.
That's difficult.
Yes, exactly. It's actually that translation has an interesting example of this. You're going to the king. You're all excited in the palace. You can't believe that you're there, and it's beyond the ambiance. Everything it's amazing. But that's all until you get to the king himself. When you're standing right in front of the king, you don't even feel yourself. There's no excitement. You're like, right. So it went backwards. It went from the excitement. That's what happens with davening. It went from the excitement When you came to Shema, there's a certain echad where it's like there's nothing besides Hashem, as opposed to Psukkei Zimra or Birchas Krishma, where there's a passion and excitement, a flaming love. That Shubli Echad is the level of Yirah Yira Baishas, Shebechenas Mechin the Abba, which that is again the level of Mechin of Abba. Shemekabel of Omachos Shamayim. He's accepting upon himself the yoke of the Eibishter. The Iskei B'Torah mitzvahs, when he's involved in learning Torah and he's doing mitzvahs. And Mashkos B'Bira Pasuk Yata Neri. So from the emotion of all I want is Hashem, and nothing practical to it necessarily, the Chachma is returning you to Echad, where it says, okay, you want to have this, have a Yira, learn Torah, do mitzvahs. It's not necessarily so, it could be and it should be passionate, but it's translated into step 1, step 2, step 3, etc. Like follow instructions type of thing. Right? No? Okay. Sometimes excitement and flame passion doesn't follow instructions and rules. You're out of the box and you're flying. Settled responsibility, focus, that's more of yira and recognition and knowing your place and so on.
Like the Benavihu. That's it.
Yeah. This explain more on the explanation on the pasuk of "You are my candle." Even though, obviously, the mechin of Abba, which means the masculine level we keep on talking about, it's also known as Chachma, is greater than the second level of Bina. Chachma is higher than Bina. The masculine, the fatherly level is greater, more lofty than the motherly one, because that's stage 2. Nonetheless, you still also have to have, at first, the level of Ema as well. You don't just go to Mechan of Abba. So, having a bittul, even though it's not exciting, there's no passion there, but having a bittul is greater than the excited passion, but you have to have the Ema, the Bina level first as well. Why is it so important? The reason why it's a little bit hard is because it's a progression. Chacham Bina Das. Now we're saying you have to have Bina first. Right? The example of intellectual process is that you have a flash, a development, and then a connection to the concept that we could explain it. Right? So it's Chacham Bina, then Das. Fatherly, motherly, and then the connection. But in davening, you have to have also the Bina first. So you have Psukkei Zimra first, and then you have the Shema. Because the main point is to illuminate the body. The only way you do that is through a revealed Ahava, which comes forth from the Me'ach of Bina, which is closer to the body. What's the goal here? The goal is not to have that feeling. The goal is that feeling should permeate our body, and therefore our actions and so on. The way that happens is through an Ava, which is revealed, and that comes from Bina specifically because Bina is closer to the body. It's a stage closer. Chachma is removed. Chachma mecha, or Bina liba, because Chachma is the brain, surprise, surprise, and Bina is the heart, and the heart is closer to the body. Bina, understanding, is heart. Knowledge, which is mechen, is head. Understanding where you get it is heart. And if your goal is to affect the body, the heart is closer to the body than the head is. Or emotion versus intellect is closer to the body than the intellect. And the level of Mechan of Abba, even though its Maila is much greater than the Bina, Ein Seif Baruch Hu is even greater than that. Without any comparison. This is what they call. And there's no machshava that could grasp it at all. So even though Chachma, Mechan of Abba, the fatherly one, is greater than Bina, but the infinite one is even greater than that. So in other words, it doesn't matter. The order makes sense. You should have Chachma then Bina, but the goal here is to change the body, reality, life, practical, So therefore, you have bina first, right? Now you can't get to bina first without chachma. Okay. In summary, so far, we'll end with this. Avad Halevi, the Levi serves Hashem. The who means bina, and his job is Levi's function is to bring bina into Amadis Galia from Amadis Kasya. That's where it's functional. What is this bina thing? There's a chachma and there's a bina. There's a fatherly and there's a motherly. One is intellectual primarily, which is collected and calm and cool, waterly, and one is passionate and so on. The passionate one is a ava. The intellectual one is a yira. In davening, you have to have both. We start with the ava, with the passionate one, and then it gets you to the bina, to the chachma one. Even though it's practically goes the other way around, but the chachma one keeps it in check. It's ratzah and then shuv, running and then returning.
Hashem is what our Levi Michal does for us every day. Yeah.
Brings the bina. That means you have chachma also. If you're able to bring bina, you got to have chachma also.
Shukar, Rabbi.
I'm confused.